My name's Alan Steer. I'm a third generation shellfisherman from South Devon. I am going to give you a quick presentation on the IPA. This is the South Devon Inshore Potting Agreement. This is an area set aside for static gear off the South Devon coast of around 110 square miles out to the 6 mile limit. We've been managing this as an association for many years. It all started many years ago, back in the 70s, initially when we first started talking. A lot of the small fishermen worked off the beach, inshore pots. There was never much problem with mobile gear boats. As the mobile gear boats, scallopers expanded, got bigger, new technology, and the inshore fishermen moved to ports, bigger boats, more pots. We started getting conflict between the gear types. This then led to just discussions between the fishermen. Over the VHF, these discussions started just between the trawlers and the static gear men. Started off simply looking at a chart and drawing a line on the chart, just done over the VHF initially. By 1979, the first charts were actually drawn up with the help of MAF. They were the management organization at the time. And we had a proper paper chart with coordinates on that we could call an area for the static gear men to work and the mobile gear men could recognize. Over the years, it became a license variation in 2000. The area has evolved very organically in that time. This has been held with discussions by fishermen, by the mobile fleet and the static gear men working together, talking about their needs, their requirements, and how they can work together. And this led to the IPA chart that we see with closed areas certain times of the year for the static gear men, and then in the winter time, opening them up for the scallopers and trawlers so they can work as well. And this reduced some of the gear conflict. Some of the main problems we did have originally, before the management organizations were involved, was how to police the area and any infringements, because we did have a lot of infringements. This was mostly scallopers coming in, trawling around the edges, taking away static gear. This became a big problem at one point. People were having to bring a private prosecution against a boat, but trying to prove it was hard. This is when the IFCA took over as a license variation, and we actually had some powers to manage the area properly. If you look at the next slide that comes up there, this is some of the advantages and disadvantages of the area. Main advantages: protection of the static gear from the mobile gear fleet. This is what it was originally set up for. The other side of that is it reduces the mortality of shellfish stocks from beaming, scalloping through the exclusion, protecting the ground. Conservation area for the non-targeted species. It's a huge area that's not targeted for mostly wet fish, so it's a massive conservation point. Protection of the seabeds, features and habitats, which is what it's been recognised for, some of its rocky reefs and intertidal boulders. There's also benefits for the leisure and tourism through good angling. There's good species, certainly plaice and all bass, which is good angling. Benefits for the conservation bodies are able to study, monitor areas of undamaged seabed and compare them to the areas outside that are being trawled and targeted by the mobile gear fleet. So it gives them a good target comparison. Positivity, I think this proves that fishermen can work together for the benefit of all sides of the industry and for the benefit of conservation and marine environment in general. Some of the downsides or disadvantages to an area like this is it's a closed area. The ability to fish new grounds outside the IPA is very difficult for the static gear men that fish inside. New entrants is a big problem. I think most of the fisheries from any side struggle with new entrants. because it's a closed area, new entrants coming in, finding new ground and an area to fish is very difficult. And also the management of the IPA. The management is very important because all sides have to work together, come together, communicate, find common ground, and find a way forward. So the management can be difficult at times, but very productive.